Welcome back. Today I'm going to be building the new coilovers for the Corolla. Earlier this afternoon I went ahead and removed the passenger side from it and brought both of them in here. I have the new casings here as well. Still have to strip them down, but before I tear them down I want to go ahead and show you guys a better look of the damage. This is the driver's side one right here. So as you can see, the tube is kind of pulled out of this little lower receiver. You can see that little mark there where it's twisted out, and it's actually kind of mushroomed out on this side here. Don't know how well you guys can see that though. Basically the wheel was tilted in so much that it was touching the strut casing here, kind of machining itself. It probably would have been worse if I had a narrower wheel on it, but either way, it looks like the shock is still going to be usable. The coilover components are going to be usable. Not really upset about these being damaged because this is something I wanted to replace for a long time. You can see whoever did these before, they just kind of welded around them, which is really messy looking. But I have these nice collars from T3 that just slip right over them. So basically you just weld these in place instead of doing this little weld technique that whoever did this, and you can get a more precise measurement that way. Obviously it's going to be a lot cleaner. So these are just some stock strut casings that I have here. Obviously I have to pull the hubs off before we get started in the brake brackets, and also cut the factory spring perch off. So I think that's going to be the first thing we do today, so I'm going to get right to it. Alright, so now that I have these prepped, I'm going to set them aside. Clean my workspace here, make a little room, and bring the old suspension up to the table here so I can begin to disassemble. All right, now that we have those stripped down, I'm gonna bring the other ones back up here. and start marking the location where the coilover sleeve perch will be welded on. So basically what you're going to do for these, this needs to be flush with the end of the tube. It was not. Whoever had installed them before had installed it in the wrong place. But first we're going to take our sleeve, slide it on, then we'll take this guy, we're going to turn it upside down so that it's flush with the end of the tube, and that's going to mark our location where we're going to weld it on. So it looks like it's actually clean there because that's where I ground the perch off. Sometimes if you have a longer sleeve, this may actually end up here. If it ends up down here, and you'll have to re-clean the metal in the area where you're going to weld. But in this case, this kind of works out. I'm going to clean this up just a little bit more, and then we'll start tacking it together. Alright, once you get it tacked in place, you can go ahead and remove the sleeve from it. Probably doesn't really matter. I don't think it's going to hurt it to get heated up. Make sure you don't knock your casing over. Alright, so got this one in place. Got it welded out there. Now I'm going to move on to the other one, and then actually I didn't think about this, but I'm going to have to paint these before I put them back together. Not really sure, it may be a little too humid out here tonight. So I may actually have to finish this in the morning.
The next day. Soon after.
Okay, so now we have them painted. Just going to start putting them back together. I put that little rubber O-ring in there just to keep the sleeve from rattling around on the strut casing while you're driving. Just keeps them nice and quiet. Sometimes the shot cartridges you get may be a little shorter on the bottom end. Usually when they're new, they'll come with a few washers to drop in the bottom of the casing just to take up that extra slack. So I'm going to go ahead and install those so I got a nice snug fit when I put the gland nut in place. Most of you guys would be using a camber plate on top of this. For this car, this is just a little practice car of mine. I don't have a bunch of fancy parts on, so I'm utilizing the original factory strut mount. This one's in good condition, so that's fine. I just won't have any camber adjustability, which is fine in this case. It works well. You also may notice that there's going to be a good bit of preload with this setup. In this case, I'm just using what's here and what I had available to me. It had a full stroke setup on it before with a lot of preload. Those shocks were in pretty bad shape. These are just a little more healthy, so I decided to use them. The beauty about this is, though, when you're converting these casings, if you wanted to, depending on your ride height, you can cut the casings down and run a shorter shock cartridge from cars like the SW20 MR2 and some of the other Toyotas. There's various lengths and sizes you can get for these, but in this case, I'm just using the standard length AE86 Tokiko replacements. There will be a good bit of preload, but this car seemed to work fine like this for a very long time, and I'm just going to keep going with what I had. So that's it for this video. It's just one more step towards getting the Corolla back to being on the track. Doesn't look like we have much more to go. Hopefully we'll have some new tie rods tomorrow and be able to put the front end back together. Also, I do want to say, I think we've surpassed 100 subscribers at this point. I just wanted to say thank you for all our new subscribers. Thank you for everybody that's still sticking around watching. Really appreciate that. I appreciate the support. We'll see you next time.